Hi everyone, Molly Oyua with Sacred Fire Creative. We are a full-service digital marketing agency here in Portland, Oregon. And today I have the honor and the pleasure of interviewing Stephanie Arnheim of Stephanie Connects and also of eWomenNetwork in Portland. Hi Stephanie, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hi Molly, thank you for having me today. I'm Stephanie Arnheim. I wear a couple of hats. I'm a business networking strategist or Portland's networking expert with Stephanie Connects, as well as executive managing director of the Portland eWomenNetwork chapter. And with both of those things, I love connecting people. I love helping people find the right connections and to become powerful networkers. Networking is a great tool that you can use in your business to help promote yourself, and it doesn't have to be scary. It can be fun and very effective.
Nice. And we were just talking before we started going live about how it's October and it's Halloween, but like you said, networking doesn't have to be scary. So I love that. And I know that you're an excellent networker because you're with eWomenNetwork, you're the executive managing director there. And just briefly, can you tell us a little bit about your journey, with eWomenNetwork? And I mean, I want you to be able to show off a little bit. Like, tell us how big the chapter was and how it is now and what it's like.
Well, I joined eWomenNetwork. I wasn't even a member of the chapter almost 4 years ago. In January, it'll be 4 years. And I have been in Portland for over 27 years, and I knew a lot of people. I've worn different hats in different types of businesses and occupations, but I was always kind of playing a little small. And the opportunity came up. The eWomenNetwork chapter was a small chapter. There was on paper, there were about 50 members, but there were about a little over 30 active members. And over the course of 3.5+ years, we've more than tripled the size of our chapter. And that's through not only my networking, but it's educating our members about how to be effective networkers and how they can build their own businesses as well as help each other grow as a community. And networking can be that way. And for me, it gave me a bigger platform, as you want me to show off a bit. It became a bigger platform for me to play bigger. I'd been playing small, as I mentioned. And the whole purpose of networking is to feel more comfortable, to feel effective, but getting your message across in a right way, in a strategic way that you feel comfortable and works for you.
I love that. Yeah, great. Thank you so much. And I definitely thank you for growing the chapter. I know for me, eWomenNetwork has been a big influence, and I love all my eWomenNetwork sisters. So hi out there. If you guys are watching live, please be sure to type in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from, and if you have any questions for Stephanie. And again, also, if you are watching on the replay, again, thank you so much for watching, and type in the comments too. Let us know where you're watching from. We'll definitely stay updated and keep an eye on this video. If you have questions for Stephanie, be sure to reach out to her. You can reach out to her also through the comments or on Stephanie Connects. And so that's her Facebook business page that you can look up as well. And so why don't we transition a little over from eWomenNetwork, which is something that we both have experienced, and you've been a leader in for our chapter locally, and over to Stephanie Connects. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got that started and the progression, what's going on with that today?
Sorry, the feed is a little, it started to be a little fuzzy, but hopefully you can hear me. I'll start talking. With Stephanie Connects, it really has been a lifelong process because I've always been a networker. I've always been a connector, but I didn't know to what level I was doing it. And what really happened in about 2009, I went and I changed careers and I went into a direct sales company, and I was wearing a hat of a health coach, and that was great because I'm a trained teacher. I was an elementary school teacher, and so teaching has always been part of my blood, but I didn't understand it to what level. And then I joined BNI, Business Networking International, and I became the mentor coordinator of that chapter, which was a volunteer position. And I really got it. I really understood the power of connecting, of mentoring, of doing one-on-ones, of learning to listen, really listen for what people were looking for in their businesses to grow, and put all these things together. And so I became the mentor coordinator and did it for 4 years in that chapter. And my husband, John, happened to mention to me one day, he goes, "You like mentoring more than you like being a health coach. You really should pursue this." So I said, well, that might be a good idea. And so I had just started forming the foundations of Stephanie Connects. And that's when eWomenNetwork happened to come around. So they came around basically about at the same time, even though I'd been doing this for years, but just not ever thought of this as a real business. I thought, who would want to pay me to help them network? Networking's so easy. And that was a wrong assumption. Networking, it's not easy for everyone, and there's a lot of fears. And also when I was in BNI, there were a lot of health coaches around, and I thought, how do I differentiate myself? And so I was very strategic in that. And I wanted to be able to share with other people and other businesses ways to be strategic to get your message across. Because even though there may be, in that case, a room full of realtors or a room full of health coaches, there are ways to differentiate yourself and to not, you come from a spirit of abundance, not competition, in getting your message off effectively. And that's what I like to do.
Wonderful. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I know that networking is so important. I get a lot of questions about networking. I'm not an expert, so I was wondering if we could kind of dig in a little bit deeper and give people some real networking tips. What are the biggest mistakes almost that you see people making that you want to advise them on today?
Well, I think that's a great question because I do get asked that, and I do want to, I'm going to correct you on one thing. You are an awesome networker, Molly. You've got to give yourself credit there. You've been a business matchmaker a few times over in our eWomenNetwork chapter, which means you've brought quality guests to our meetings who have joined. And that's me. If you weren't a good networker, that the results show in your actions. So give yourself some credit there. Definitely. And this is networking, what we're doing. Any form of networking is marketing. However, the misconceptions is they sell. Networking is not selling. Mm-hmm. So when you go to an event, or even when you're doing a one-on-one, especially when you're doing a one-on-one, it's not about selling. It's about helping people understand what you do, but also, even more importantly, it's in your listening, what can you do to help them? Mistakes we think is they have to understand what we do and what I sell. It's not about that. It's about building the relationship. And when you build the relationship, people will want to ask you, tell me more. Tell me more about what you do. And that's the secret sauce, because it's the touch points. It's gonna take, that's another mistake, is people think it's not a one call close. It's building a relationship and talking to them on Facebook, liking them, sending an email, sending a note card, calling them, seeing them, inviting them to an event like what you do, inviting them to our strategic business introductions or a luncheon, or even to a happy hour or something fun. building those relationships where people will know, like, and trust you is one of the best ways to build business. And so the mistake is thinking, oh, they didn't get back to me or something. Do your follow-up. The mistakes are not doing follow-up. That's like just as big as the selling part.
And do you recommend that people do the follow-up with calling that person or emailing or messaging?
It really depends. It's kind of interesting. In my many years, I've been tracking that, because I find it's a valid question depending on, look at the demographics of the person. Mm-hmm. I find like the 20s and 30s, they're all about texting, and the older generation, I prefer the phone call. Many people know, I'm not afraid to pick up the phone. And other people, it terrifies them. I'll do anything other than call. So write a note card, send an email. Some people feel email is impersonal. It's impersonal if you're doing a canned message. But if you just add, like, it doesn't have to be a formal thing. It could be just a quick 2-line email. Hey, Molly, it was great to see you at the last eWomenNetwork luncheon. I'd love to grab a cup of coffee and learn more about what you do. That's a great follow-up. Nothing complex. You have to find what works for you. If the phone terrifies you, don't use the phone. Email's good. Facebook's good. LinkedIn's good. Whatever method it is, use it.
Okay. I'm going to have you kind of tilt the computer towards you.
You got a little crooked there.
There we go. That's a little better.
Yeah. Sorry, I was falling.
There you go. Because you're kind of like falling away there.
Was I? Oh, dear.
So I've never really confessed this before, but one of the things that I've done before, so I'm guilty of, I'll just do a little networking phobia confession for you. So this happened actually not too long ago. So this is not from like way in the beginning when I first started networking or anything, but this is like this year sometime. So this happened to me where I went to this networking event because I had heard about it and I was like really excited, but I was nervous because it was like the first time going to this group. And I knew it was like a big event and there were around 150 people there. Wow. And so I really did this, Stephanie. So I drove up to the event and I got to the parking lot and everything. And then I went in. I think I must have been like a couple minutes late or something, but I like peeked my head in the door and I saw everybody lined up around these, like all in a giant circle, like 150 people in a circle, basically, like in these long tables and everything. And I did see like maybe a couple people I knew, but I just kind of felt like, oh my gosh, they're going around and introducing themselves. Mm-hmm. I don't even know anything about the group. So I turned around and left.
Oh my.
And maybe, that's my own fault because like I said, I was a few minutes late, so I didn't get to hear like what the group was really about, and it was my first time visiting. But I don't know if you have any other nervous networkers and any advice you'd like to share for that.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for confessing. Good for you. Thank you very much. I've been in the same boat. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm an introvert. And when I teach my networking workshops, one of the things I like to do is to teach people you got to put on your big girl panties. But I will sit in the car, I will sit in the car. I remember this so clearly is I sat in the car. I wouldn't even get out of the car. You got out of the car and you looked in. I've sat in the car and go, I'm tired. I don't feel like talking to people, those feelings. I don't know what to do. So I came up with kind of this system, and this is what I teach my clients too, is you take a deep breath, you get there early, get grounded, think about what you want to share, look and see what ahead of time, what type of group it is. That's a helpful thing. So, okay, these are going to be tech people today. So I'm going to cater my message around what are tech people looking for, or I'm doing, what it depends what type of group it is. If it's young people, older people, tech, what's the focus of the group, and what do I feel like? Is there an event that I have coming up or something I'm working on? Like, did you just launch a website that you want to, talk about? You're proud of your work, to share. Think about that before you get out. I get out of the car, I physically get out of the car, and I take deep breaths, or if it's raining like Portland sometimes, I'll wait till I get inside, go in the doorway, take some deep breaths, put your shoulders back, just kind of get grounded, smile, practice smiling, and then go in the room. And I always also, and this couldn't have worked maybe necessarily with the situation you were in, but I always go and look for someone I know first to go talk to. So like I remember, Molly, years ago when we first met and you were at Moxie, and I didn't know that many people. I remember I go up to you first. I go, "Hi, Molly, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, someone who knows me." I get grounded, and a lot of times I remember you bringing over people to introduce to me.
Yeah.
So I can do that for the people that I know that maybe are a little more nervous, and I know how to identify that kind of thing. I will make a point of, looking around, and as I meet people, like bringing them over, "Molly, you should meet this gal. I thought, you might have something in common." That will help gain you a lot of, so the next time you could say, "Hey, Stephanie, are you going to that event?" And if you know they are, it gives you some confidence so you can get out of the car, in my case, or get in the doorway and go for it. I mean, you are not alone, Molly. I can't tell you the number of people that have told me the same story, but they're almost like me. They won't even go, or they don't get out of their car, or they don't go in the doorway, and they think everybody knows everybody. Everybody already knows who's there. Not true. Then never mind. Yes. That's very true.
Yeah.
Thank you. Because it's very common. You're not alone. I've done it too.
Well, that's really good to know. I told my husband about it, and I just felt like, wow, I can't believe I did that, and he was really shocked because he said that I've been networking a lot, and I even saw people I knew in there, but something about the situation just really scared me off, and I thought, this is just not the right time. I am not ready for this today. There are
times like that. There are times like that. I won't, I know I haven't felt like going, and then I'll see it on Facebook later, the pictures. Like, I didn't want to drive over there, or there's traffic. Oftentimes I use that as my excuse. It's like, oh, I'm tired, there's traffic. And then I see and I hear about the connections people made, and I'm like, I wish I had gone. It's not a big deal, really.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I just want to acknowledge Diana Hoff. Hi, Diana. She's on watching us. Thank you. She is an amazing person. Also, somebody I met through networking and now is a good friend of mine. And so also I met her through eWomenNetwork. So that's great. Anyway, so if you have questions and you're watching, feel free to type them in the comments. I have a ton of questions for Stephanie, but I don't have to be the only one here to ask her questions. So one of the other questions I had for you, Stephanie, is there a difference? I mean, there is a difference, but tell me what you think about networking online, like networking through social media versus networking in person.
It's so important to use both media, especially these days. Technology is not going away. It's very important. And I've heard people say, well, and they have the misconception that they think networking is just in-person events. It's not. As I mentioned, it's about building those relationships, building those connections. So I purposely will block out time on my calendar to go into like Facebook and like people's posts or go visit key pages of people that I want to get to know better. That's networking. Reading a blog post and making a comment either on LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever, is your media of choice. Think about it strategically. Here's a tip. Think about who's your target market. Mm-hmm. If your target market's on Instagram, then start going on Instagram every day. And just like 10 minutes, go follow some people like you just met or that you would like to meet. Who's ideal? Like go for the, I call them the big fish. Think about who you want to strategically doing that. So that's the online piece. It's definitely part of your networking, toolbox. And then the in-person, my goal is to do at least one-on-one a week. And that can be from wherever. And so if you're strapped for time or you have a couple, I wear a couple hats. I know you do too, Molly. It's like plan one day, like you're out in McMinnville. So when you come into town, it's like schedule back to back. And one of the things I know you've done really well, Molly, is I've used you as an example for women coming to eWomenNetwork luncheons, is that you'll schedule a one-on-one before the meeting starts and we do the meeting afterwards, or you'll schedule one after. You're already there. Why not maximize the time? And that's what people can do at other parts. If you're going to the east side and you live on the west side, schedule a one-on-one. When I go to Vancouver and I'm in Portland, like Impactful Women has events, and they're usually at happy hour. Going to Vancouver at 5:30, oh my gosh. So I will schedule a one-on-one at like 3, and I'll get up there, have the one-on-one, and then when I go to the networking event, I'm calm, I'm not frazzled from the traffic. So there's ways to do that strategically, and if you're waiting and you have extra time, go online and check out some people's posts or post your one-on-one, and it helps double it because you have the in-person and you have the online presence, and both are very important.
Wonderful. And so a whole flood of other questions just came into my head. And well, one of them is, I think there was kind of this like rule of thumb back in the day that said, if I make, it was like 7 or 8 touch points, then that like helps or something. And I feel like then it kind of went up and it's like 20 or something. But what do you think about that sort of idea of touch points? And can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So a touch point is anytime you connect with someone. So, say we're at a networking event and we meet for the first time. That's your first touch point. Then you leave there and you send an email, thank you. That's another touch point. You like them on Facebook. That's a touch point. You send a friend request and you like a post that they have. That's another touch point. So because technology has become it's proliferated so much, they used to say like about 7 to 8 touch points, but it does take 7 to like 20 touch points, as we call them, before someone will know, like, and trust you to feel comfortable to do business with you. So that's where it's really changed. And so it varies because depending on the quality of your touch point, a one-on-one is technically one touch point. But when you're doing a one-on-one, it's so much more personal and you're getting to know the person so much more completely, understanding their business versus an email or a Facebook quick, message. That's where it may take longer to build that relationship. And you never know where that relationship will go. I've gotten, a perfect example is I just got a coaching client for networking that I knew through tennis, which is my love, my sport, my outlet for life is playing tennis. And we knew each other through tennis for about 10 years. And I've been following you on Facebook. And she just recently changed jobs. So because of my reaching out and using Facebook, and then I'd see her socially at tennis, those kind of things, that's how she reached out and said, I know you know a lot about networking. Where should I go? What should I do? Can you help me with that? So that's where the touch points can build for years. And it can, so it can be short or it could be someone that we meet at a eWomenNetwork event or a Moxie event or Impactful Women event. Could be anywhere like that. And then you have a one-on-one and they decide to come to your workshop or, do something really quickly. So it can vary, but I definitely think because of technology, the way we use it, what are the quality of our touch points is what makes the difference. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I love it. No, that's really helpful. One of the things, somebody told me this like ages ago, that if you're going into like a networking group, to really, if you end up liking it, you're feeling like this is a good fit, then it's best to commit to it for, this is what she said to me, and it really stuck with me, but 3 years. And not to do like a small amount of time, but to realize that relationships take time. Do you have any advice on that, or like another like kind of quick rule of thumb? Does that sound like a good idea to you?
My rule of thumb, 3 years, that's longer than I've heard from most of the networking people that myself and others. I feel, one of the things I always say is when you go to visit a networking group, if you're not sure if you want to join, every networking group will allow you to visit at least 2 times. Always use those 2 times. Because, I wouldn't like anyone, blah, blah. It's not, it could be the key person that you were set there to meet wasn't there at that time. So give it another time. So that's, a separate thing is go use your visits. Now, in terms of when you join a group, I usually say the rule of thumb that I've heard and I agree with is at least 6 months, but it's 6 months of being active. So, for instance, a lot of groups have annual memberships, say, and they say, well, I'm not going to renew because I didn't get any business. Well, a lot of times when I've asked them, when they said, I don't know if I've done this right, I've said, well, how many one-on-ones did you do? How many meetings did you attend? Well, I was traveling a lot and I only went to like half of the events and I only did a couple one-on-ones and that person tried to sell to me and that person, I didn't care about their business. Well, that's not an engagement. If you're going to make a commitment to join a group, be involved, be active, maybe volunteer like you do on our leadership team. Be involved in whatever group you're on. And that way you can maximize your membership. So I don't think it will take 3 years to get effort. 3 years that's a long time that I have heard. That's a really good commitment, but a lot of people change businesses within 2 years on average.
That's true. And I just want to say hi to Deborah Daniel. Hi, Deborah. Thanks for watching.
Hi, Atlanta.
She's another wonderful woman from eWomenNetwork and from our Platinum group that we're both part of. So
she's a podcast host too.
Well, she's a podcast host too. So yeah, you can look that up at eWomenNetwork. Thanks for watching. So one of the things that you just said that brought up something for me is that, in networking, how do I say this? One of the big things that I've learned is to, I guess it's more like seeing the silver lining. I feel a long time ago, I did this thing where I went to a one-on-one and a lady, she was just new to networking and she was just like, I'm going to sell. And she just went straight into her sales pitch and it was pretty aggressive and I didn't really like it at the time. Yeah. And so I kind of like, shut it down a little bit and was like, okay, and then kind of like made my way out. And but I have stayed in touch and she's learned a lot more about networking and she's become somebody who's like a colleague and who has referred me clients. And so think that like at the time, I don't think I handled it very well. And I think now what I would see in that person is just somebody who's so ready to share about their business. Like maybe they're new in their business or they're just really excited.
Yes.
So what's funny is now I've seen her say, what do you do about somebody who's just trying to sell you? And I think like, wait,
that was
you. So it's like, but can you share with us? I mean, I kind of shared like how I feel about it, but like, can you share us? What would you do? Like you're sitting across the table, you're at like lunch or coffee, you kind of like locked in here and somebody just starts their sales pitch on you. Like they're, just going, whatever it is, like multi-level marketing or whatever. I mean, it can be anything. What would you do?
I've been told the same story by many people. They said they've done one-on-ones and the person just sold all the time. So one of my favorite tools that I will share with them, and I'll share, anybody who wants, access to this, let me know, because I'm all about sharing the other resources that we have in this town. And as you know, Ronnie Noyes from DIY Marketing Center, when I met her probably like 13 years ago or something. I was at a networking event and she did a breakout session on how to do an effective one-on-one. And she has a sheet, a one-on-one sheet. And I still use that same sheet to this day when I do one-on-ones. And it's not a matter of fact, it's not a matter of using particularly that sheet, but the thing that I do to help shut that down, because you need to shut that down fast, because it's wasting your time when you're being sold to. And a lot of times the people, as you could tell from that person, they learn from their mistakes, perhaps because they're not doing it now. Sometimes they need to be told that in a gentle way. So it may be interrupting them and saying, Jane, I love what you have to share, but I'd like to know more about who is your ideal client and how I can best refer to you. And in turn, I'd like to share with you those same things. So let me share with you first, which helps stop the conversation from her sales process. Let me help share with you what I'm looking for and who is an ideal client. And then you can go. So it helps gently stop a conversation, shift it to the whole purpose of the one-on-one is to get to know each other better. It's not the time, I wouldn't go on the personal front, like what are your hobbies or what are you looking for? Your time is valuable. You want to make sure that you both get time to share. So it's the same at a networking event. You may need to shut down that conversation very quickly. And if they're not open to it, it's the time to stop it and just go. I haven't encountered that. Usually the people get this startled expression on their face because they don't realize they've been doing it. And it usually is the newbies and they're nervous.
Yeah.
And usually because they're nervous and they just start talking and they can't stop talking. So it's a helpful guide, a gentle guidance, kind of like, patting someone on the back when they need to finish wrapping up their talk or something like that. It's the same type of thing that you can do is guide them on the questions. What type of businesses do you like to work with best? What would be an ideal client? If I were to hear what, blank, what would that be as a good fit? And let me share with you, if I may, there's the NLP, neuro-linguistic programming type of questioning. Says, wouldn't you agree that would be helpful if you could understand better? They will usually always say yes. And then, so you're switching, you're guiding the conversation. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that is so wonderful. I'm going to take a moment here just to say hi to my friend Marina. Hi, Marina. Thanks for watching from Philadelphia. Really appreciate you. And so if you're just tuning in right now, be sure to watch the replay so we can catch the full interview. It'll be on after we close up here. And Stephanie, I just want to say I really appreciate your time. I know that you are a busy person. Your time is valuable. And I really, I'm honored to have you on today for our interview. And thank you so much for that last piece too. I think it's almost like because I did that in the past and I felt, it didn't feel good to just like be cornered into the selling corner. Yeah. And so the way I handled it then is now like almost like the opposite end of the scale to beyond now, where I just sit there and listen, and it's almost like a boundary issue where I appreciate what you said, because I do have the ability to really like stop them and say, hey, here's where we want to go with this conversation so we can get the most out of this for both of us. And instead, I've seen myself just listening to their sales pitch like the whole time, and just thinking like, I'm almost thinking to myself, like, does this work for them? And kind of listening to what they see the value in their business or in what they're doing. And I take it sort of as this learning experience for myself. And I've had a couple people since then where we get to the end of the time and I have not shared a thing about me. And then they kind of realize it. And it's like, okay, if they really wanted to learn about me, they would just set up another time to learn about me. But I'm not going to like force myself on somebody who's maybe not ready, especially in their networking career or their business, to really be able to be present and to listen and take it in. And I think that for me, it is about presence and really being able to connect. And if they're not ready, then I don't want to force that on them either, because who knows what they'll be telling, somebody as a referral, like about me if they're like really pushing, that pushing energy.
I would offer to coach you a little differently there, Molly, because your time is just as valuable as theirs. And so what I might suggest is you allot, most people allot like an hour. Some people only allot a half hour. I can't do a one-on-one in a half hour. I know some of my networking friends do, and I'm like, I can't do that. I'm too much of a nurturer. I want to know more about them. So you allot an hour. And if you notice at a half hour, it's just them doing verbal vomit on you or selling or something, you got to stop it. And there are gentle ways to stop it. So what I would encourage you, if you encounter that, or if anybody out there encounters that, is, and it depends on your comfort level. For me, I'm a nurturer, and, a hug or something. But in this case, I might put my hand, you're at a coffee shop, I might put my hand on their wrist and go, Jane, let me just take a moment here. I want to make sure we only have a half hour left, or we may only have 10 minutes left at that point, because you got to summon up your courage to step in there. Your time is just as valuable. Can I take a few minutes and share with you what I'm looking for, and, share something about my purpose of my business, whatever it is that is you feel that would connect. I mean, they've given you a lot of clues by what they've talked about. So also think about, while they were going on and on, what part of their business on a strategic side do you think where does the overlap happen in the type of clients you are looking for? That is the ideal client you want to share with them. So make sure you do. I would interrupt them. They're not going to think about scheduling another one-on-one, because they've dumped everything they needed to say. So it takes some guidance. It's kind of a teachable moment for them. That's what I would suggest.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll keep you posted on how it goes. I imagine this isn't going to be the last time that's going to happen. So
no, believe me, I'm told over and over, and there's some people that I've met that I've known for years, and then someone will come up to me and I said, hey, how'd your one-on-one go? And they go, oh, it wasn't good. And I'm like, how did that happen? You know, they should know better. But sometimes we get so, I sometimes get so wrapped up in like a new thing that I'm working on that I just start going and the time goes by super fast. And I need to be aware of that too. That's why I say a lot of it happens in the listening, and the questions we ask is more powerful than what we're expounding on them, other than if you want it to be a reciprocal process, so that you both feel you're learning and educating and connecting all together. It's a fluid process.
That's true. That's great. Mm-hmm. Thank you. So let's transition now into how people can work with you. So you work one-on-one as a coach. You also have some groups, and then you have an event coming up too, speed networking. I'm going to just show that URL here for people. Can you talk a little bit about how people work with you?
Yes, I was doing some workshops quarterly, but I'm waiting to the beginning of the year because I'm working on some new ideas for my business. So I kind of put those on hold for now because I want to have time to, you got, as an entrepreneur, you always got to work on new ideas. And I felt like those are fine, but let's go on a bigger level. And so that's off. So, but I am doing the one-on-one coaching because I find rather than doing group coaching with networking, everybody's at a different level and everybody has different fears. They have different likes. They have different skill levels. So some people may need coaching if they're new. Like, for instance, this gal is in financial services that I'm just starting to work with. And she wasn't in front of clients. She was doing the behind the scenes thing. So that's a good person. She's ready to get out in the networking world. She knows her business really well, but she doesn't know how to network. So that's a good person that I like to work with. People who are new to Portland and or the Seattle or Northwest, those people I've worked with. But as well as I work one-on-one with people in other states. I have a client in Montreal, actually, who moved up there with her husband and wants to know about how to network with her business. She has an online business, but she wants to promote it and go out to networking events. So I'll be a resource for people as well. They're all different levels depending on where they are, or they're just nervous. I have a Wing Woman program for those people in Portland that if you're afraid to go to a networking event, I'll go with you to a networking event. We'll prepare for it. I'll go with you. I'll be your little wing woman. I'll stay with you and then introduce you to the right people, get you out of those verbal vomit situations politely. And then we'll do a debrief afterwards where we can go over and give you a follow-up plan so that you can find how to use that. And you can use that formula for whenever you go to networking events. That's, the one-on-one component. I'm teaming up with Lisa Marie from Few Studios PDX in Portland, and she's a beautiful event space. And we just held our first speed networking event a week ago, and we're doing another one at the end of this month. And we're hoping to do them monthly, depending on the feedback and how people feel about it. We got great feedback. It went really well. And I used to say it's like speed dating, but it's not, because I want it to be effective. So it's not just trivial questions. They're focused questions, but you're getting to meet a lot of people and practice your elevator speech. I can help people with their elevator speech coaching, but we can help feel more in a short period. So then they could go out and schedule a one-on-one and ask some other questions, and you get your training reels on, and you're not like thrown to the wolves per se. So that's going to be on October 30th from 12:30 to 2:30, and Molly had posted the URL.
Yeah, I'll post it again right here so you guys can see it.
So it's a great way. It's just a different way to network, it's just, you have to try different ways to find where's your sweet spot.
Sounds great. Yeah, I really appreciate that. Well, I'm going to wrap up here unless you have anything else you want to add, Stephanie. Thank you so much for being on today. Do you have anything?
I really thank you, Molly, for the opportunity. If people, have questions about coming to speed networking or an eWomen Network event, I'd be glad to, just private message me. But I encourage people, don't be afraid of networking. Networking is a really important tool to use in your business in different ways. So find what works for you and get out there.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time. I really appreciate you, Stephanie, as a mentor to me within eWomen Network and just an expert networker. I can definitely attest to your skills. We have worked in a session before. And so even as somebody who's been networking for a little while, I feel like there's always something that I can learn. And networking is one of those skills it's called networking, but it's really about relationship building. And to me, it's just getting to learn more about that person in front of you in the room and other people who you can, help build each other's businesses. And all right. Hi, Deborah. She says, great seeing you ladies and your lovely faces. Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for everybody who's been watching live and chiming in. We really appreciate you. And if you're catching the replay, thank you so much. Feel free to comment. Definitely private message Stephanie. Can be found at Stephanie Connects. That's her Facebook business page. And you can also just go ahead and comment, and I'll be sure that those comments get to Stephanie. And one thing that I'm doing for my business, which is Sacred Fire Creative. So right now I'm doing just a special offer. So if you're watching this video and also let me comment to let me know that you watched the video, I'm doing a free website audit. So that's a review of your website. And it can be for any purpose. It doesn't have to be just like a complete teardown of like, here's how we need to redo it. So it's not like that at all. It's based on what your needs are, so what you're looking for, and it's a conversation. And it's recorded, so we have also a screencast, and we have our faces on there so that you can keep that. And it can be either live or also recorded and private. So it's up to you, but feel free to reach out to me. You can find me on my website at sacredfirecreative.com. So if you're interested, just go ahead and send me a little message through the contact form there. You can also apply to discoversacredfire.com. So those two things. And thanks again, Stephanie. And I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast, but we can chat right afterwards, Stephanie. So I'll see you in a little bit. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Molly.